After playing the role of saboteurs in Tshwane in the past 8 years, the ANC and the EFF will now be held responsible for governing the city. Nasipi Moya will be an ANC EFF mayor. If the newly elected mayor sticks with this program of action, which she served as a deputy mayor, then she will have success and the support of the DA. But given the power dynamics in Tshwane, we anticipate that the ANC EFF coalition will try to take a part. In opposition, the DA will work with like-minded parties to prevent these initiatives from being reversed. Our biggest warning, though, relates to Tshwane's finances. We will also fight to prevent. The ANC in Gauteng has formed a coalition with the EFF and other parties opposed to the government of national unity to lead the capital city. After bringing down an effective coalition government in South Africa's capital, the ANC and the EFF have decided to install a proxy mayor from a small party to hide the fact that this is in fact a reunification between the ANC in Gauteng and the radical economic transformation factions of that party. We gave the ANC every opportunity to avoid what happened today, but it would seem that the party could not rise above its internal divisions to act in the best interests of the people of Tshwane. Since losing the mayoralty in Tshwane in 2016, the ANC has made every effort to prevent any other party from governing the city with success. After 2016, they disrupted council meetings, including the State of the City address by then Executive Mayor Salim Semanga. They joined forces with the EFF to block disciplinary action against a municipal manager implicated in the Glad Africa matter. And then the ANC and the EFF prevented quorate council meetings from happening, which of course created the pretext for the ANC provincial government in Gauteng to dissolve the city council and place the city under administration. And this happened at the height of the COVID-19 lockdown. 7 months later, the ANC administrators were ejected in Tshwane by court order, but they left the city with a more than 4 billion rand budget deficit. Predictably, the same faction of the ANC in Gauteng that drove the city to be placed under administration were the ones that enticed Action SA away from the multi-party coalition with the promise of the mayor's chain. After playing the role of saboteurs in Tshwane in the past 8 years, the ANC and the EFF will now be held responsible for governing the city. These parties must not think that they'll be able to get away, to do as they please, and then to blame their failures on their proxy mayor. Nasipi Moya will be an ANC EFF mayor. Action SA, polling at just 0.5% of national support, less than half of the result that they received in the general elections, has now served their purpose to these parties, having delivered Tshwane into their hands. As the multi-party coalition in Tshwane, we were able to make significant progress in the past 18 months, creating order out of the chaos of Tshwane's recent past. This includes improving the financial sustainability of the city, its audit outcome, taking the first steps towards energy independence and securing our infrastructure, and devising a credible plan for the decades-long problem of Hammanskraal water. In the following few months, the people of Hammanskraal will have clean water in their taps. The project will be delivered in 4 phases, and eventually reliance on water tankers will be eliminated. If this project is in fact delivered, it will stand to the credit of our government, but also the National Department of Water and Sanitation, as well as Magali's Water. We're also confident that having responded to the findings of the Auditor General and assured the quality of our financial statements, that the city will receive an unqualified audit for the 2024 financial year. This is the result of effective leadership, of diligent work, of being willing to respond to criticism of our government. The same focus and diligence has gone into our program of action as a government. We devised mayoral charters to direct the work of the city administration towards financial rescue, energy independence, and the improvement of basic services. If the newly elected mayor sticks with this program of action, which she served as a deputy mayor, then she will have success and the support of the DA. But given the power dynamics in Tshwane, we anticipate that the ANC EFF coalition will try to take apart the
Wow,
initiative.
that's really heated. Brink's speech continues in a bit, but I think it's really important to understand the quagmire Tshwane actually is now. So a really interesting article on Daily Maverick called Tshwane, a bankrupt city. Okay, it argues that the administrative capital, Tshwane is actually down on its luck with actually a massive budget deficit and poor service delivery. And it says that the debt Tshwane has to ESCOM is actually more than 4 billion rand. All right. Now, it also says that the city has actually budgeted also for an overdraft of 800 million as part of a normal cash flow facility that cities actually use. Tshwane has actually also been struggling with revenue collection, particularly from its debtors, okay? And as a result, it has actually had to introduce what is called the Tshwane Ya Tima, which is actually a campaign to clamp down on clients who fail to pay their bills, including household and business, and also in an attempt to clamp back on some of the more than 6 billion rand that is actually owed to the municipality. Michael Beermount, who is actually Action SA's national chairperson, actually warned that Tshwane is actually nearly bankrupt. Okay, he says that the city is in a terrible state and that it has been in that state because of the actions of the last 8 years, and that even before that, that now is the time that they need strong, decisive leadership. And actually, he hopes that, Tshwane would actually need now more strong intergovernmental relations network with provincial and national government to deal with a city that is completely bankrupt. So, we're dealing with a city that is bankrupt here, okay? And Silas Brink, I think he was actually probably planned to begin financial sort of like realignment to help city gain back this whole mess it has found itself. But now that, he's been kicked out, and while many people in Tshwane say that they were happy as residents of Tshwane argue that they were happy that he was kicked out, many also say that, now that he's kicked out, Tshwane might actually now need to go through sort of like a deepened financial crisis, because like Brinks argues, it appears that the Moya here is a proxy of the ANC and the EFF. So this is actually the DA's perspective, and I think it's kind of like a really strong statement. But let's continue with Brink's speech here.
The initiatives we've taken, such as getting Pretoria West and Rooiwal power stations into the hands of IPPs, and Wonderboom National Airport under the control of a private operator with the capital needed to expand that particular asset. The careful review of municipal property rates and electricity tariffs so as not to overburden consumers who already have to suffer under a cost of living crisis. The disciplinary steps taken against officials implicated in the irregular Wonderboom or the irregular Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant upgrade, as well as the steps taken to blacklist the consortium of service providers with links to Edwin Sodi, who abandoned the project. In opposition, the DA will work with like-minded parties to prevent these initiatives from being reversed. We will also fight to prevent non-political senior managers from being removed from their posts so as to make place for ANC and EFF political cadres. This is a significant risk, and in fact exactly what happened when Nelson Mandela Bay was taken over by a coalition of the ANC and the EFF. It caused significant long-term damage, which harmed the municipality's ability to draw independent, competent, non-political professionals to come and work there. Our biggest warning, though, relates to Tshwane's finances. Achieving financial recovery is at the heart of improving service delivery to all of the people of Tshwane. And achieving financial rescue requires difficult decisions and the resolve to carry through these decisions into action. An example of this was the decision by Tshwane's Municipal Council in 2023, which, by the way, was supported by the ANC and Action SA, to forego salary increases to councillors and staff. When this decision provoked a violent, unprotected strike, the ANC pretended as if they never supported the measure, which in fact they did. And Action SA placed the coalition under pressure to negotiate and to cave to unaffordable salary demands. This is the kind of weak, opportunistic politics which Tshwane and the city's fragile financial recovery can ill afford. If the Doomsday Coalition makes one such a disastrous decision in the next few months, it could in fact induce a cash flow crisis which will take the city right back to where we had started. Again, I want to emphasize that the ANC and the EFF will not be able to blame their bad decisions on anybody else, including their proxy mayor. In the face of all of this, the DA's resolve is not to abandon the people of Tshwane. With what we know about government, about the city of Tshwane, and the strong team surrounding me, which we have assembled over the years, we will be a devastatingly effective opposition. But our ultimate focus will be on returning to government, to end the chaos that has for too long characterized the politics of Gauteng's metros, by maximizing our vote in the 2026 local government election. The great majority of South Africans want a non-radical government that can support the Constitution, drive economic growth, lift people out of poverty, stand up to the corruption. Exactly the opposite of what has been assembled to govern in Tshwane. This appeal of people for a reasonable government in favor of the Constitution and growth and progress and social mobility, it stretches across divisions of race, of place, and of class. And we believe, as the Democratic Alliance, that we can assemble a majority at the ballot box to further their cause in 2026. In conclusion, I want to emphasize the project of building a capital city that works for all of its people is far from over.
Yeah, really sharp, really intense speech, and it's really weird to then watch the performance of Moya as the new mayor of Tshwane. But anyway, one of the things that I watched her acceptance speech yesterday after being given this responsibility as the new mayor of Tshwane. She has a focus on stability. Okay, she wants to stabilize the city of Tshwane, and in her acceptance speech, she actually also spoke about the fact that she understands the major challenge that Tshwane actually is now at the moment, and that there's a certain form of anxiety and political instability that had actually plagued the city of Tshwane. Now, knowing fully well that she served as deputy vice mayor for Celia's Brink, she says that she's committed now to resolving the lack of service delivery in less affluent areas, including Soshanguve, Hammanskraal, and Mamelodi. Okay, she says that she appreciates the troubling reality of the growing divide between the affluent and the disadvantaged, which has now become a defining characteristics of the city of Tshwane. And she argues that many residents in Tshwane are facing significant challenges in accessing basic services and opportunities, and that she vows that she will work tirelessly to bridge that gap, okay, and ensure that Tshwane creates a more just and inclusive city where all residents, regardless of their economic status and geographic locations, have access to quality services. All right. So this is Moya's, acceptance speech, her perspective, her philosophy, her drive. Her drive is more leaning towards inclusivity. It appears that probably while she was vice mayor to Celia's Brink, there was this understanding she had that the city was suffering from a massive lack of inclusive leadership, and so she wants to bring more inclusive leadership to Tshwane. And in the face of all of this anyway, the DA, like you heard from Silas Brink, has resolved not to abandon the people of Tshwane, and that they actually were talking about bringing Brinks back, but I don't know if that's possible. But anyway, like you heard, Brinks is actually now focused on the next, I think, local government election. So, and they want to wage a really fierce fight against the ANC and the EFF, what they call the ANC and EFF proxy leadership in Tshwane, to probably reinstate Silas Brink in Tshwane. So Brink's final words, he says that we will be a devastatingly effective opposition, but our ultimate focus will be on returning to government to end the chaos that has for long characterized the politics of Gauteng metros. So that's where we will stop for this video. It's really interesting what's going on right now in Tshwane. It actually speaks to kind of like this leadership clash within the GNU, although at the provincial level, but not at the national level. When we start seeing this at the national level, then probably we might now start thinking about, the pros and cons of having a GNU, a government of national unity. Although there's been some sketches here and there propping up at the national level, especially with the Bella bill that had actually been signed, although without the 3 clauses that are being skipped, where President Ramaphosa wants to give stakeholders ample time to debate on. But that's actually a signal to some of these provincial problems, especially in terms of coalition seeping into the national space. So we'll keep watching and updating you guys on what's going on. But anyway, see you in the next one, and share your thoughts in the comments.